Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Getting right into it today. The topic I want to cover is an article that came out from CNN's breaking news Twitter/X account. I'll just go with Twitter. They posted a headline last Monday which reads, "Infants died at higher rates in the US following the Supreme Court decision to revoke the federal right to an abortion, new research finds." The replies to this post, very thankfully, have been filled with pro-life activists making very obvious and true points, which I'll be laying out in this video. But unfortunately, in those same comments, there's also a lot of people that are falling for the misleading wording of the headline and believing the absolute lies pushed by this piece that would lead people to believe that the pro-life movement lacks compassion for children after they're outside the womb, or that we're only out to oppress women and we don't care about the innocent children that die in the process. And of course, nothing could be further from the truth, and I'll explain why. So let's take a look at the article. The study was published on last Monday in the Journal of the American Medical Association. And it compared infant mortality rates for the 18 months after the Dobbs decision with historical trends. The results showed that in several of these months, infant mortality was higher than expected based on historical data, and it never fell below expected levels since the Roe versus Wade decision was overturned. The months in which the numbers were higher than expected were October 2022, March 2023, and April 2023. And the rates of mortality were about 7% higher than average, resulting in an average number of 247 more infant deaths for each month in question. The study goes on to state that 80% of those deaths can also be attributed to congenital anomalies, which were also more common than expected. Common types of these anomalies affect things like the heart and the spine. They may give a newborn baby only months to live. The CN article also notes that other research has found that births have increased in states with abortion bans, I'm quoting now, and experts say that some of that increase is linked to a disproportionate rise in the number of women who are carrying fetuses with lethal congenital anomalies to term, end quote. So the translation of that is this: more babies are being born because their mothers aren't allowed to kill them after discovering that they have serious medical conditions, which unfortunately, very tragically, is the standard advice. If a baby is expected to be born with a life-threatening condition or something that will drastically affect their quality of life, one of the main things that doctors advise is to abort, at least up until it was restricted in many states. Another article that they link goes into detail about how many more births are occurring, and this is important information to note. This will be important later. Approximately 1/4 of all people seeking an abortion in the first half of 2023 were unable to obtain one. So this resulted in a total of 32,000 more births than expected, and the average fertility rate in the states with an abortion ban was 2.3% higher than the rate in states without restrictions. So 2.3% more babies being born. So keeping this information in mind, it gives us a much better understanding of the statistics we mentioned earlier about the increased rate of infant mortality. It's a matter of simple logic to reach the conclusion: when you significantly increase the size of a sample group, you increase the chance for abnormalities. Because in a small sample group, low percentage of outliers, then you're not going to have that many. The larger the group is, the more outliers you end up with. You also will increase the number of deaths that will occur within the group as a whole if you have a larger group of human beings. When you have 32,000 babies being born, in addition to what there would normally be, the chance of congenital issues will rise in proportion to that. And this is especially true when we consider the fact that when abortion is being practiced, it particularly targets those babies with those irregularities. Like I mentioned a moment ago, a specific target of abortion are those children with congenital defects or illnesses. So we have the combined influence of more babies being born overall, the numbers are going up, and the restriction of the ability to eliminate babies with terminal conditions before they're born. So when we compare the number of infant deaths, which if you take the total, is 641 on average in the months that were above the expected level. When we compare that to the increased number of births, that gives us a factor of 2% of the additional wave of babies are falling victim to infant mortality. And in an attempt to make the situation sound very scary and panic inducing and hype up their base, the article does not mention how many babies are being born and going on to live. And what we're seeing here is not a spike in infant death, it's a spike in visibility. So the death rate for abortion, let's compare real quick. The death rate for abortion is almost 100% unless something mercifully goes wrong and the child is spared. The death rate among the additional babies that have been allowed to be born since abortion has been restricted in certain states is roughly 2%. So we get 100% death rate for abortions, 2% death rate for being born. And the difference is that instead of being disposed of clinically in the dark and silence of the mother's womb, the babies now have the chance to be born and to see the light of day and to be considered and counted as real humans. That's why this is a news item, because they're out of the womb and we can see them dying of congenital defects instead of dying by abortion. Abortion is the absolute largest cause of infant deaths, but it's sterilized, it's explained away, it's tucked away in these clinics, and they label the victims fetuses, they unperson them, dehumanize them. And the people who conduct the studies and write the articles would look you in the eye and they would argue that we have to kill the babies. They wouldn't term it this way, but you have to kill the babies in the womb before they have a chance to be born and die of natural causes. And they'll tell you that that's compassion. These infants don't have much chance at life anyway, is what they would say, and we should prevent their suffering. But I would pose this question to you. Is it better for them to die in the arms of their mother and people who love them, and to know life and the light of the world and love from family, no matter how brief that is? It might be a matter of months, it might be a matter of hours, but they at least get to have that chance. Or would it be better for them to be ripped apart by forceps and dumped in a medical waste bin before they ever get a chance to see their mother's face? So which suffering is worse? Choose your pain. What's better for the mother? Is it better for her to deny her child a chance to ever breathe, or is it better for her to hold on to him and wrap him in her arms and let him know that he's loved for as long as she possibly can? If the child has a limited time on this earth, either way, it seems to be the most compassionate and morally justifiable, definitely the best option, to allow them to be as comfortable as possible for as long as possible, and to choose the course of action that's going to cause the least guilt and grief for everybody involved, because the blood will no longer be on the mother or on the abortionist. You can say you genuinely did everything you could. You gave the child a chance at life, and tragedies happen, but it's not on your hands. And if they must leave us, let them do it without putting that guilt on you. Let them be born and let them have a chance.